From the rock to the pebble. How did Dwayne Johnson go from this to this?
About The Rock, you think he's natural?
Oh, he's absolutely not natty. They said he did a 12-week training program for WWE, and he had a full six-pack, leanest he's ever been. He's 53. I'm like, guys, he's on everything. Not only do I not think he's natural, I don't think he's on HRT. I think he's on the kitchen sink.
Really?
I think he's on all of it and then some. You don't get big like that into your 50s compared to your 40s and 30s. Like, you see some photos of him in his 30s, he's way bigger and leaner now. Then you watch his little workout. This is The Rock. I'm going to go through my leg workout. And then he gets in there. He had 2 plates on each side of the leg press. This is the waist. I'm like, it's his first set. It's warming up. No, he's stuck with that weight the whole time. So he did this workout. He's like, look how hard his 30-pound walking lunges. 2 plates was every exercise. I'm like, is he a bikini competitor? And he's faking how hard it is. You know, like, oh, yeah, like he's grimacing.
Sounds like you don't like him because he's tall.
I love The Rock, which is the funny thing. I don't hate him for it, but it's like, come on. He's just training like a...
Once Hollywood's strongest symbol of grit, determination, and unstoppable power, The Rock has now found himself under a storm cloud that no one ever imagined would touch him. For decades, his rise seemed untouchable. He was the perfect mix of wrestling icon, Hollywood superstar, businessman, and motivational figure. He was the man who could dominate in the ring one night and headline a billion-dollar blockbuster the next, a global phenomenon whose brand was built on discipline, inspiration, and sheer size. Fans copied his workouts, ordered the supplements he endorsed, and treated his words like gospel. To millions, he was living proof that hard work really could conquer anything. His entire life seemed like the ultimate transformation story, going from a struggling football player to one of the highest-paid actors in history. But all of that carefully crafted perfection is crumbling right in front of us. The Rock is no longer the man above criticism. He's the man everyone is whispering about, dissecting frame by frame, wondering if the empire he built was nothing more than smoke and mirrors. What makes this fall even more painful is how sudden it feels. He didn't gradually fade into the background like so many stars before him. He's been yanked down brutally, with his physique, his honesty, and even his generosity under fire. Before we go any further, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and leave your thoughts in the comments below. What people forget is that The Rock wasn't just a movie star, he was a cultural blueprint.
Other WWE superstars go about this. Remember Batista? He looked significantly smaller, and why do you think that is? He's no longer abusing performance-enhancing drugs. And so he followed in the footsteps of none other than the legend Batista, who did the exact same thing. If y'all think that The Rock was natural, that I'm just talking out of my ass, explain how he lost all his muscles in a matter of months.
He created an entire lifestyle brand around himself, convincing millions that success was all about discipline, grind, and consistency. He would post videos from the Iron Paradise at 4:30 a.m., sweat dripping down his face as he pushed through workouts most people couldn't even dream of finishing. He showed off cheat meals that went viral, entire tables filled with stacks of pancakes, sushi rolls, and brownies, like living proof that he had earned the right to indulge. Every post, every interview, every glimpse into his life was designed to reinforce one simple message: you could be like him if you worked hard enough. But when he appeared drastically smaller, leaner, and nowhere near the massive figure he had maintained for years, that message cracked. Suddenly, the man who symbolized impossible strength looked vulnerable.
Joe was saying The Rock did, which is steroids, is something The Rock has denied. His father denied, his uncles denied, the whole family's denied. It's one of those things. It wouldn't be overly big deal. In all fairness, it wouldn't be that big of a deal if you weren't out there telling people about nutrition, telling people about your diet, telling people about your workouts. As soon as you start doing that and trying to influence and motivate and bring people along the journey, but you lie to them about the journey, right? I mean, he's Liver King. You're Liver King all over again. It's the exact same thing.
And when vulnerability shows in someone who has sold themselves as invincible, the questions start pouring in. Was it age finally catching up? Was it health? Or was the truth something fans had always suspected but didn't want to believe? That's where the betrayal cuts deepest. Because if the story was built on a lie, then what does that say about everyone who believed it? The shift in his appearance didn't happen quietly. It was a spectacle. Photos from red carpets and press events spread like wildfire across the internet. Fans who once flooded his posts with fire emojis and praise were suddenly comparing before and after shots with brutal captions. The memes came quickly, and they were ruthless. Suddenly, The Rock wasn't being called a titan or a beast. He was being mocked as a pebble. Social media has no mercy, and once the jokes start, they don't stop. people who had worshipped him were now tearing him apart, saying the man they admired for decades had finally been exposed. It wasn't just trolls either, it was mainstream conversations, fitness influencers weighing in, and endless threads questioning how his body could change so drastically in such a short period of time. Hollywood thrives on perception, and perception was shifting fast. If the illusion of invincibility was gone, then the entire foundation of his marketability was at risk. Studios invest in myths.
So my only wish on top of this would be if The Rock came out and explained exactly what he's doing. Hey guys, you see how I've lost all my muscles? The reason is because I had to stop abusing performance-enhancing drugs. I was playing the superhero actor card. I had to have a greater physique than last time. I wanted to be at my best shape ever in my 50s. Does that even make logical sense? I mean, bro isn't Michael Hearn. And so because of that, because of the right circumflex artery that was being shut down, I had to decide to make a change. And if I didn't do that, I wouldn't be living longer than last time. As The Rock, please don't do what I'm doing.
Not mortals, and The Rock's myth was shattering in real time. As gossip swirled, the narrative became darker. Fans began asking, was it ever real? For decades he had dodged questions about enhancement, always insisting his size and strength came down to consistency and hard work. But now, with his body shrinking in front of the world, people were connecting dots. If he had truly been natural, could he really have carried that much mass into his 50s? And if he was natural, how do you explain losing nearly 50 pounds of muscle in a matter of months? The whispers turned into loud speculation, and speculation turned into mockery. It didn't matter whether he had a logical explanation. Public perception had already decided. He wasn't the hardest worker in the room anymore. He was the man finally caught in a lie. The tragedy of being a public figure is that the court of opinion doesn't wait for evidence. Once the story sticks, it becomes the truth in the eyes of millions, and no amount of denial can undo it. The Rock wasn't just losing size, he was losing trust. And that's where things became dangerous, because trust isn't just about whether fans believe you lift heavy or eat clean, it's about whether they believe in you at all. The Rock sold more than movies. He sold a dream. He sold the idea that anyone with enough grit could climb to his level. But if fans start to believe that dream was manufactured, then the empire collapses. He wasn't just a bodybuilder or an actor. He was a global influencer whose entire brand revolved around motivation. People built their own routines around his words, looked to him during tough times, and treated his lifestyle as a roadmap. If that roadmap was revealed to be fake, then what's left? Fans don't forgive that kind of deception easily. They may forgive mistakes, scandals, even crimes, but they rarely forgive being tricked into believing in a fantasy that was never possible. That's why this moment feels so devastating. It's not about muscles, it's about betrayal, and betrayal sticks. But the controversies didn't stop with his body. The internet has a long memory, and the Maui Wildfire Fund fiasco was still fresh in people's minds. At a time when lives were lost, homes destroyed, and families devastated, The Rock and another billionaire launched a relief fund. On the surface, it seemed noble. They pledged millions of dollars and encouraged others to join in, but the public quickly noticed something off. Why were billionaires asking ordinary people, many of whom were barely surviving themselves, to donate money instead of simply covering the cost themselves? The backlash was instant and fierce. Fans called it tone-deaf, selfish, even insulting. In an age of economic struggle, watching the rich ask the poor to shoulder the burden was a slap in the face, and The Rock, who had always been framed as the people's champion, suddenly looked like the opposite. Instead of standing with the people, it seemed like he was standing above them. That one moment fractured his relationship with fans in ways he might never fully repair. The thing about public image is that once one crack appears, others quickly follow. The body change created doubt, and the charity scandal poured gasoline on that fire. Followers started disappearing by the millions. Instagram engagement dropped, and the comments under his posts became brutal. No longer was he being cheered as the symbol of hard work, he was being ridiculed as fake, greedy, and hypocritical. In Hollywood, perception is everything. Studios saw the backlash, brands took notice, and suddenly the world's most bankable action star didn't seem like a sure bet anymore. He wasn't just fighting for his reputation, he was fighting for his career. Fame is fragile. It can take decades to build and minutes to destroy, and right now The Rock is learning just how fragile it can be. Fans who once defended him now lead the charge against him, and the industry doesn't bet on people who've lost the trust of their audience. Behind the scenes, people whispered about health, about age, about whether this was all just a sign that the human body, no matter how strong, can't defy time forever. But those whispers didn't matter to the public. What mattered was the story being told, and the story was ugly. He tried to present the transformation as a choice, done for roles, for longevity, for his family, but fans weren't buying it. Too much damage had already been done. The narrative of the hardest worker in the room was no longer inspiring, it was suspicious. And in an era where authenticity is everything, suspicion is fatal. The irony is that fans don't expect perfection, they expect honesty. If he had come forward with full transparency, admitting struggles, health scares, or even industry pressure, fans might have rallied behind him. Vulnerability could have saved him. But instead, silence and vagueness created a vacuum, and the internet filled it with its own conclusions. And maybe that's the true tragedy here. The Rock spent decades building a bond with fans, convincing them he was one of them, just bigger, stronger, and more disciplined. He made them feel like his journey could be their journey too. That's why they loved him. That's why they defended him. But when the cracks showed and he didn't let them in, that bond shattered. Fans don't just walk away from idols when they make mistakes, they walk away when they feel lied to. That's the difference. It's not about losing weight or launching a bad fundraiser, it's about losing trust. And trust, once broken, almost never comes back. The Rock might still have fame, money, and roles, but the love, the unconditional loyalty that carried him for so long may be gone forever. Now the question remains, what does the future look like for The Rock? Can he reinvent himself, embrace the flaws, and rebuild his empire from a place of honesty? Or is this the beginning of a permanent fall where Hollywood slowly sidelines him in favor of fresher, less complicated faces? Some say his charisma and work ethic will always give him a second chance. Others believe the damage is too deep, that fans will never see him the same way again. Either way, his story is now a cautionary tale. It proves that no matter how powerful your image, no matter how high your status, once the public feels deceived, the fall is swift and the climb back is nearly impossible. The Rock once stood as the ultimate symbol of strength, but now to millions, he looks less like an unbreakable force and more like a reminder that even the biggest giants can crumble when the truth catches up. But maybe the real twist is that this downfall could be the very thing that forces The Rock to reinvent himself. Hollywood loves a comeback story, and the same fans dragging him today might celebrate him tomorrow if he opens up in ways he never has before. Imagine him sitting down and finally pulling back the curtain, admitting the pressures of fame, the toll it took on his body, the reality of chasing impossible standards for decades. Vulnerability could transform him from an idol on a pedestal into a human being people can actually relate to. That kind of honesty could save his legacy. But if he continues to hide behind half answers and vague explanations, the internet will write the story for him. And once the internet decides your narrative, it becomes nearly impossible to take it back. The Rock is standing at a crossroads, and which path he chooses next will decide if he remains a Hollywood powerhouse or fades into the shadows of what he used to be. For now, fans are left with more questions than answers. Was the body ever real? Was the image ever genuine? And if not, why sell it to the world as if it was? The downfall of The Rock isn't just about muscles or money, it's about the collapse of an image that millions trusted. His story is no longer the fairy tale of endless grind and discipline. It's a cautionary tale about what happens when the mask slips and the truth seeps through. Because in today's world, people don't just want idols, they want authenticity. And if The Rock can't give them that, then he may go down not as the people's champion, but as the man who proved that even legends can be built on shaky ground. Whether he rises again or stays fallen, one thing is certain, the myth of The Rock will never look the same.